Hey there folks, I am the Mighty Plantain. Thanks for checking out this video. This time around we are looking at Oskar Blues Brewery's Canundrum. It's a mixed 15 pack with 5 different varieties in it. And I've been eyeballing this one for a little while. I did wait for it to go on sale before I picked it up, but I think it was 13 and change, you can't beat that. 15 beers, even if half of them are crappy, which I don't think they will be, but even if, that's still 15 beers, less than $1 a beer. So what they've got in here is they've got Dale's Pale Ale, Momma's Little Yellow Pills, Pinner, Goodnight, G''Night, spelled with a K, Imperial Red IPA, and the Can-o-bliss series IPA. I don't know what the Can-o-bliss is, but I know it sounds a lot like cannabis, so I'm wondering what that's all about. So what we did here, I lined them up based on beer style and the few that had IBUs listed. So we're going to go from lighter to heavier, and we're saving the ones with the higher IBUs for last, because a lot of people will look at a nice light colored IPA and they'll think it belongs before a stout. Not that there's any stouts in here, but the fact of the matter is hoppy bitterness will wreck your palate and overpower it and make you less able to pick up on some of the more subtle notes in other beers more than a dark heavy beer will. So anything with high IBUs, and the higher the IBUs goes further towards the end. So we're starting off with Momma's Little Yellow Pills. It's a mountain pilsner. It says down here, Momma tried. It's 4.7% ABV and does not have a whole lot of other information on it. Doesn't have the IBUs. It does say here, pack it in, pack it out on the recycling. So good thought. You take this stuff anywhere, take the empty cans home with you, please. Don't leave them sitting on the ground in some campsite or somewhere. Been on a few hiking trails recently where people just toss their empty beer cans or empty soda bottles out, and it just looks awful. And plus, that's out there in nature. I mean, clean up after yourselves. It doesn't take much effort. Well, that is definitely a Yella Pills. It's very clear. Maybe a little bit of haziness to it. Not a whole lot, though. But it is quite a clear, very effervescent yellow beer. But yeah, there's a little bit of cloudiness to it. That's kind of promising. It's got an overall beery aroma, like a light graininess. Nothing standing out, really. It's decent. Nice, light, easy to drink. Again, there's like a grainy flavor to it, like maybe a weedy flavor. Slight hint of bitterness in the finish, but I think that's just a general beery bitterness. I'm not getting any particular hop notes off of it. It's not bad. It's not great. It's a nice drinkable beer. That's what I'm going to give it. Let's go with a 2.5 out of 5, which again, on a scale of 1 to 5, 2.5 is average. So this thing's right on the level with things like, Budweiser, Miller Lite, that kind of thing. It's just a good solid beer, but there's nothing special or crazy about it that recommends it higher than average rating. So I'm going to finish this one up, and we're going to move on to the Dale's Pale Ale. All right, next up is the Dale's Pale Ale. I realized as I was poking around in the fridge, I may have misspoken earlier. I don't think any of these have the IBUs listed on the can. So in lining them up by style, I might have done myself a little bit of a disservice, because I think the ABV is actually going to increase as I go rather than getting lower, which is the smart move if you're doing long haul drinking for the night. But again, for the purpose of tasting, you know, I had to line them up by style. So yeah, Momma's Little Yellow Pills comes in at 4.7, and Dale's Pale Ale comes in at 6.5. And I think, yeah, I think the two IPAs actually go higher. So that's all right. We'll get through it. Ooh, that one's a little more golden in color. There we go. Cans, infinitely recyclable. Nice message. Pack it in, pack it out. Same as before. Mountain Pale Ale, the original craft beer in a can. Could be. I'd have to look that one up. A huge, voluminously hopped mother of a pale ale. So, I don't know what the IBUs on it are, but I'm expecting something pretty heavy based on that. So, of a slightly orangish, slightly hazy, not very effervescent beer there. Did get a good head on it, got a good pour, but there's not a lot of bubbles coming up from the bottom, so not too effervescent. Definitely getting more of a hoppy aroma off of that, although it's not overpowering, it's just kind of there. Any hints of citrus? Maybe a little pepper, actually, like ground black pepper. That's odd. Every now and then I get that from a hoppy beer, but it's unexpected every time. Got a little bit more body than the Yellow Pills. Yellow Pills had a really light mouthfeel. This has got a nice medium light mouthfeel. And voluminously hopped may have been how they brewed it, but it's not coming through as voluminously hopped. I'm definitely getting some hops. Up front, there's like a slightly sweet flavor, easy to drink, and then it kind of gives me a bit of a burst of hops in the finish that stays with you. A little bit of sweetness in that hoppy burst, too. Getting hits of pine and citrus, which are not unusual for me. Some serious earthiness in there as well. So it's got a nice hop blend. It's easy to drink. It's not crazy. Again, it's not one that's really blowing me away, but it's a nice, solid beer. I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5. Whew, pardon. It's mostly the hoppiness that's winning at the extra points. I'm a big fan of hoppy beers. The fact that it's so easy to drink is also giving it some points, too. That's an IPA, well, a pale ale, a hopped pale ale that's going to go down smooth and easy and probably a little quicker than you want it to. All right, so I'm going to finish this one up, and we're going to move on to the Pinner IPA, the first of 3 IPAs in this pack. All right, so we are up to Pinner Throwback IPA. This is the first IPA of 3 in the pack. Can I Be Blunt? Colorado, USA. Sip, sip, give. I mean, obviously they're hinting at the weed thing. Hops are actually a cousin of weed in the plant family. This one's actually dropped down to 4.9% ABV, so a little less than the last one, so maybe there's some saving grace for me here in the first, anyway. It'll be a little bit of a chance to catch my breath before I get into the heavier ABV ones. So, I'm just wondering if Pinner itself is some kind of weed reference, because everything else on the can seems to be. But I'm also wondering what a throwback IPA might be. Does it matter? It's an IPA. All right, got a halfway decent head on that one. And around, spinning around. It's maybe a little bit more hazy than the first two, and a nice combination of the orange from Dale's Pale Ale and the yellow from the Yella Pils. It's a nice combination of those two in terms of the color. Just like a nice yellowish, orangish, I guess a hazy golden color is what I'd give it. Again, just little hints of hoppy bitterness coming off of that. Nothing else too crazy. Another smooth, easy to drink one. This one's got more of a medium light mouthfeel. It's got a danker hoppiness to it, so dank and earthy. So again, it's just a nice, easy to drink beer up front, but then as you swallow it, gives you a nice big mouthful of hops. Maybe some floral hints in the finish. But again, a small hint of sweetness there that I wasn't expecting. That one's another pretty solid 4. 3.5 out of 5. I don't know where that 4 came from. 3.5 out of 5. I swear I've only had these 2 beers, so there's no way I'm that buzzed already. I'm probably just distracted. Anyway, this is another solid 3.5 out of 5. Good, decent, above average beer, and it's just not blowing me away or giving me anything unique or different to pin onto it. Pinner. But I'm going to finish this one up, and we're going to move on to the 4th beer. All right, so we've got the 4th beer in the Canundrum pack. This is Can-o-bliss Hazy IPA. Hazy does it. Mountain India Pale Ale. Baby, I love your haze. Pack in, pack it out. Okay. So nothing unusual on the label, especially not for the Oskar Blues set. But I'm still wondering about that Can-o-bliss, especially with all the weed references on the last one. Where that's Can-o-bliss sounds like cannabis. I don't know. Right. Maybe it's just dank and hazy. Maybe they just like their weed over at Oskar Blues. Who knows? But it is definitely a hazy beer. Hazier than the others. There's some particulates in the bottom. Probably should have either rolled the can or been a little more careful dumping it out. Yeah, they didn't warn us about it, though. But there are definitely some chunks floating in there, not just haziness. I'm going to try and show you some of those chunks. I don't know if they'll come through on the camera really well. There are definitely chunks of something. I can assume it's part of a yeast clot, or it could be particulates from whatever they hopped it with, or dry hopped. Again, I hope you can see those. There's one here, one here, one here. There's a couple down here on the bottom. Right there and there. Ooh, yeah, if I look at the bottom, they're settling quickly enough, though. But if I look at the bottom of the glass, it looks like, if you've ever had an aquarium, it looks like little fish poops floating to the bottom. But I'm sure they're not fish poops. Well, reasonably certain, anyway. Slightly effervescent, got a decent head on it. But yeah, hazy and with a lot of small particulates in there, in addition to the big chunks. I'm not a fan of particulates in my beer. I'm getting over it slowly. Normally, you don't notice the texture. You don't notice them when you're swallowing. They just go down. But I don't like seeing floaties in there. Just a mild hoppy aroma. Nothing too different in the aroma from the other beers. Nice medium light mouthfeel, easy to drink, same thing as before. There's definitely a bit of an oiliness to it, which I'm sure is from whatever hop process they use in the hop oils. A little bit of pine, a little bit of citrus, definitely some dankness, a little earthiness. Nice combination of hop flavors. Not much of the, just like some of the others, not much of the grain blend coming through. Just the hops. I'm going to hit that with a 3.5 out of 5 as well. Nice, solid, hoppy IPA. But again, nothing too crazy, nothing too impressive, nothing too different. Just a nice, good, above average IPA. Again, 3.5 out of 5 is definitely above average. 2.5 would be average. So that's a decent beer. I think that's the second time I've brought up that point about the rating system. I will try not to do it for the rest of the video, but there's only one beer left, so odds are in my favor. I'm going to finish this one up and then move on to that fifth and final Imperial Red IPA. All right, so we are now up to Goodnight. It's a G apostrophe and then night spelled with a K. Imperial Red IPA, Colorado, USA. Can-o-bliss Satisfy Ya. 8.7% ABV. Still big, still red, still sticky. Yeah. Oh, this one's got a little bit of an info on it that the others don't. If you knew the man behind this tribute, this dry hopped ale needs no explanation. If you didn't, we're sorry. Okay. Well, I didn't, so I guess you guys are sorry. Now, I'm a little concerned about that. That looks like there was a spill on the can during filling, I'm guessing, because the rest of the can looks pretty clean. It's a little dented up, but I don't like the looks of that. Ick. Gross. Just realized I forgot to mention the ABV on the last beer. It was 7.2% on the Can-o-bliss Hazy IPA. So like I said, they've kind of, with one exception, been climbing higher as I've gone, and that might wind up being a mistake by the end of the night. But like I said, I'm not a fan of whatever that gross ick is there. It just looks like something that got crusted on there during filling the can, because it looks like foam that's blown out, but it's just turning me off. But this part of the can looks pretty clean, so let's just pour it out and go with it. Yeah, that's definitely spilled beer based on the look and color of the beer inside the can versus how that crap dried up and went all icky on the outside. I'm sorry, I know it's probably not a big deal. It just turns me the fuck off to see nastiness on the outside of the can. Just like when I pick up a beer that's been sitting around in a store for a while and it's covered in dust. See, dust, I don't mind, because when I see it ahead of time, I can just wipe it off. But this was inside a cardboard pack. So there's no way that's anything other than shit that got on there before they packaged it at the brewery. It should have been washed off or cleaned up. But I'm not a professional brewer with a canning operation going, so I don't have the qualifications to speak as to how often that should or should not happen. So I'm going to shut up about it. I'm going to try to get past it and not hold it against the beer itself. So that is a nice red hazy beer. It's very cloudy. There are no particulates, so that's just hazy, not chunky, not like the last one. And it is a definite red colored beer. Now they say it's an Imperial Red IPA. So Being an Imperial, it definitely has a little bit of booziness to it. Got a decent head on it, slightly effervescent. There's a couple of bubbles coming up from down there. Slight hint of booziness. I'm getting some kind of graininess. Not sure what I'm picking up on. It's not like a light biting graininess like wheat would give you. It's just a bit of a grainy aroma. And then, of course, below that, just an overall hoppy aroma with strong hints of pine. I'm more keyed to pine than others, so of course I'm going to pick up on the pine. It's got a medium to medium heavy mouthfeel. I'm going to say medium heavy on that. Definitely got some serious body to it. Definitely has that red, that somewhat sweet and somewhat roasty red character. Up front, a bit boozy. It's an 8.7% in an Imperial, so of course it's going to be a little boozy. And again, like the others, it goes in smooth, but then there's a nice punch of hops. It starts out with heavy hints of citrus and pine, which are, again, my two that I key in on more than anything else, and then just fades to an overall hoppy bitterness with maybe some floral in the finish. Despite the nasty fucking can, this is probably the most interesting one in the pack so far. I'm bumping this up to a 4 out of 5. I don't want to. I wanted to hold the fucking can against it. As again, I don't know. Tell me if I'm nuts. Hit me up down in the comments or email link down below. Just tell me if you find that appetizing or not. And again, it's probably a 1 in 1,000 fluke that I got that can. It's just really turning me off, and I'm trying really hard not to hold it against the beer itself. And I think the fact that I'm hitting it with a 4 out of 5 says that it's not losing points for that. So, but that's where I'm landing on that one. 4 out of 5. This is the winner out of the entire pack. But again, they're all pretty solid. Nothing below a 2.5. Nothing below a nice average beer. Everything else has come up pretty much above average, with the Goodnight Imperial Red IPA being the winner out of the whole thing with a nice 4 out of 5 rating. So, solid pack. If you can get it, pick it up, especially if you can find it on sale like I did. It's certainly worth that. These are all going in the fridge, and they will be drank eventually. Probably next weekend. I don't think I'm doing any filming next weekend, so this is my beer lineup for next week. Anyway, hit me up down in the comments, the email link down below. Love to hear what you have to say about any of these 5 beers individually or the pack as a whole. While you're down there, don't forget to like and share the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, folks, thanks for tuning in. Pardon, they're all coming up at once. Cheers.